there is almost no space, in my opinion, for us to talk about each other's body.
You're listening to Speak Mother, a podcast about reclaiming your voice, your identity, and your truth inside modern motherhood. I'm your host, Shannon Warner. Let's get into it. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so glad you're here. And as I mentioned last week, I have a special guest for the topic of gluttony. I started working on that episode and I thought, no. I know someone who is perfect for this. So she's a girl's girl, and in true girl's girl fashion, I was like, hey, crazy last minute idea. And we pulled it together. And I am so excited to welcome her back. Hannah Koschak is here. She was on the podcast previously, and I'll link that episode down below. But it's been so fun getting to know Hannah over the past couple of years and to grow and evolve alongside of her. And I'm so grateful for her friendship. So let me tell you about Hannah. Hannah left the clinical setting of managing disease to educate, advocate, and inspire about a lifestyle towards disease prevention. She passionately owns Wholesome Endeavors, where she runs an engaged women's membership, the Wholesome Collective, focusing on implementing healthy habits outside of pills, programs, and products. Hannah is aware how the dieting industry, weight stigma, and influencers manipulate women to become cornered into something unsustainable and eventually a victim to their eating habits. Hannah's mission is to help women create a health journey from self-care, self-worth, and for themselves. And she is just fabulous, and I know you're going to love this conversation. So please welcome my dear friend, Hannah Koschak. Hi, Hannah. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited you are here.
So excited to be here, as always.
I'm excited, one, because obviously I love you. You're my Midwest bestie whom I've never met yet. And your last episode on the podcast a couple years ago now was so good. And of course, I'll link that in the show notes for everyone to go back and listen to if they haven't heard it yet. But our journey together has been so fun. And then we did Healthy Table Talks on your YouTube channel for a while. That was so fun doing that together. And I'm just so grateful that I get to have you by my side on this entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, same. Honestly, the depth in our relationship that happened in such a short period of time is what I'm here for.
Yes. Absolutely, yes. If you've experienced it, you know it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. And I will say, secondly, I am also very, very excited because you and I have both evolved since the last time we recorded together. So I'm really excited for this new version of ourselves to have this conversation. And I don't know about you, but I'm just fired the fuck up in general right now. So I'm like ready.
That's a really good perspective. And it's true. We both have had two huge personal growth years. And so here we are.
Always evolving. Aging like fine wine too, I might add.
Yeah. Takes a lot of green tea.
I need to dial up my green tea intake. Okay, so I'm so excited to have Hannah here to talk about the gluttony chapter of On Our Best Behavior, the 7 Deadly Sins and the Price Women Pay to Be Good. And what also is a fun fact about this is Hannah and I were in a book club together and read this book together. Was it last spring now? So it's interesting that we've experienced it together once, and then she was like, let me go back and look at the chapter. So I know you've now looked at it a second time, and just to talk about this from your perspective as a dietitian. So I would love to hear your thoughts on diet culture, your thoughts on the word gluttony. Just like give it to me. Like give us everything, Hannah.
Ultimately, as a dietitian, I started my career in a clinical setting. So that was a lot of disease management where I did tube feedings or heart failure, kidney failure, diabetes, surgeries, cancers, list goes on, right? And you would see people really begging for their quality of life on a regular basis, or you would educate them about how nutrition can help or hurt whatever health circumstances they have. And ultimately, they would just say, I wish I knew this 10 years ago. Like, I wish there's access to this stuff. And what I really noticed was the gap of the discussions around, and I was like, why is there such a gap? When then I would leave my clinical job and I would hear most of the people and women in my life over obsessing about food related to their weight, not even relating to like, this is a healthy choice. It was, oh my God, did you know potatoes break down to sugar and bananas are, and it's like all of these kind of like things that we're steering them away from food because of how it relates to calories or certain fad diets, I should say. And the gap was that the dieting industry had a strong grip on women's association with their eating habits and their weight, but there wasn't as strong of a connection between understanding how their weight relates to their health. So I can talk until my lips are blue, but unless people focus on changing their relationship with food, which dictate their habits dictate then their quality of life or their risk for disease or thereof. So it's like kind of this whole circle approach rather than good food, bad food. And that's where this whole thing started for me.
It's so good. And I wish everyone could hear everything that I've ever heard you say up to this point. And I'll link Healthy Table Talks and all of your things. So if people are curious, they can explore. But it's so interesting hearing it from your perspective with your professional background, but also living in this world that we live in and growing up as a woman who, as a young woman, was exposed to a lot of imagery about, weight and what qualifies you as hot or pretty or even healthy, right? I mean, growing up and being in high school in the early 2000s, because I know we're very close in age, is like everyone was so thin. And everyone in our magazines and everyone on the screens, they were so thin, and we're comparing ourselves. So it started very, very young, right? And then you get older and you try to reconcile some of this. And now we're hitting perimenopause, and that's a whole thing. So it's like, it's so challenging.
It's a lot.
One, to love your body as it is, and then love your body in all of its forms. And then reconciling that as you age and your body is naturally changing anyway.
So actually, research shows that in the teenage years, normal weight adolescents who perceive themselves, so meaning just picture themselves as overweight, again, normal weight adolescents, appear to be at an increased risk of unhealthy eating, weight gain, and obesity. So perceiving yourself as being overweight was associated with psychological dysregulation, meaning mental health, declines in subjective health, which is related to your labs and such, and an increase in depressive symptoms over a 7-year follow-up.
Yeah, whether or not they actually were, quote, overweight, just their perception. Wow.
Mm-hmm. So that's where the imaging and the messaging does absolutely matter. And unfortunately, when we were kids, like you said, we were about the same age. When we were kids, it really was who was role modeling around us and maybe the friend group we had. And yes, marketing. But now, where there's social media, you see beautiful, famous women being slammed for body changes or body sizes, whether it is a healthy weight or not. And you see this messaging so clearly and redundantly that it's near impossible for adolescents to not then perceive themselves as potentially being imperfect or a different image than they actually are.
I can't imagine, and I am not ready for my children to be older. My 2 girls, they're still young, so I know I have some time. But at least with a magazine or the TV, we could turn it off, close the magazine, whatever. Like with this being on their phones and in their awareness so often. And what I keep noticing is a few years ago, we had really swung into this beautiful body positive space where women of all sizes were being celebrated, and the more voluptuous, curvy kind of body type was becoming more popular to the point that these women were having these BBL surgeries and all of these things, right? And now we're noticing this swing in the other direction, and it happened. Granted, I'm a little slow with the trends, but I feel like I have whiplash. Like, wait a minute, weren't we just loving our bodies? And now everyone is, quote, heroin chic again, like they were in the early 2000s. Like, that's really, really confusing messaging for young people, but also for my brain that is still reconciling how it feels about its own body on any given day anyway.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I think it kind of was an alignment with those weight loss medications being released, which offer people the quick fix. And whether that's a conversation we want to go into today or not, I don't know. But I will say it's just an alignment in the sense of like, wait, I can have that. And then when people got it, that's where weight stigma really showed its colors, because people, or women, I'm going to say people, got praised for that extreme weight loss or severe weight loss in a lot of cases, even at the expense of potential malnutrition or nutrient deficiencies. And then therefore that praise was associated with weight loss is, the end goal, whether it's healthy or not healthy. And so I'm going to go back to weight stigma because I'm ready for that conversation. So, and again, I'm kind of sciencey, and I just did a lot of research on this for a presentation I had to give because it's a bigger conversation that's not happening in the science world as much. But in laboratory experiments, when study participants are manipulated, so forcefully, to experience weight stigma, their eating habits increased, their self-regulation decreased, which means portion control decrease, and then their cortisol levels are higher relative to the controls who did not experience that weight stigma. So all psychological and physical subconscious actions that happen when weight stigma is a factor for women. The science is showing that the messaging around weight is actually decreasing women's overall health.
Wow. Yeah. It's not surprising, but I love that there's data now, like, to back it up. Fascinating.
And so some people can argue that being overweight can lead to disease as well. And the reason I talk so much about disease is because that is the link to understanding how weight relates to your health.
Okay.
That then can, not will, but can dictate your risk for disease, which is quality of life. So ultimately, switching the focus to health is what can help people with their habits. And so when weight stigma, and again, we're talking about gluttony, gluttony is associated with weight stigma, the urgency and importance to look a certain way, the demand from societal messaging to be a certain size. We all have egos, and our ego is the most vulnerable to this messaging. It takes personal growth to get to the soul self, to get past the ego, to get through that messaging. And that takes life experience.
Yes. And I feel like, oh, I have ascended, I have evolved, and then I have a day where my pants don't fit, and I'm like, well, shit. Oh, it's a journey. And again, we have such deep programming around it, so you can't just flip that switch overnight. And I want to ask, from your perspective, because you are working with women in this space, can you confirm that you have seen women along the spectrum of body types who you can say this person, perhaps with this higher weight, is in fact eating healthy, is doing the best that they can for their body, and still they are not a size 2? Is that something that you've seen?
Yes, absolutely. And
Yeah.
what I've also seen is, while women struggle so hard to do everything possible to lose weight, and they can't get those, I mean, there's so many other factors involved in the lack of results with that, including chronic inflammation, which can happen through our daily living, meaning our lifestyles and the stress brought on to us and the demands of to-dos and our workload. And so when we're under a state of chronic inflammation, it actually increases our insulin resistance, which can increase or contribute to our weight gain or lack of weight loss. So it ends up being a vicious cycle for women in a lot of cases.
It's fascinating and so frustrating, because a lot of this is a lot harder to control than the food that we put in our body, right? That is a conscious choice that we can make. But the way that we move through the world and respond to the stressors in our world is a different kind of work. You have to have the awareness, for one, and the noticing of what is causing me to feel this, and how can I move through it differently if I can't remove it from my experience.
hmm I talk a lot about connection to yourself in the way that if you prioritize understanding your health more than what's going to get you weight loss results, you're more likely it will change your habits. It will change, the choices and how that looks for you. So really, research suggests that people who feel more connected to their future self, meaning the quality of life they're living, are more likely to have higher daily self directed motivation. When you read research, they use kind of things like that versus just daily habits, leading to better healthy food consumption. So, do you see how the more connection you have to your self worth, the more likely you are to choose daily health habits that are healthy, which leads to likely a healthy body weight as well. But you
Mm.
have to come from that place rather than from the place of trying to look a certain size and then that dictates your choices.
Right. I think it's so interesting, the future self bit, just because in times like those that we are living through, personally, I feel like it is challenging to think about future me beyond like next week. Like, there's so much to move through and to um, work through, that thinking about Shannon's health down the road, like right now, I'm concerned if I can get myself to the gym this week or not, and
Mhm,
like that's all I can
mhm,
focus on. Like that's it.
mhm.
So to be making choices in alignment with who you want to be down the road outside of this month or next month is a very interesting angle to think about in these
Mhm.
times.
Well, you're not wrong. It's very overwhelming. I will say this, what helps me make decisions is the domino effect in other decisions. So, should I stay up and scroll my phone or watch Netflix instead of go to bed? Well, if I get more sleep, that's going to help balance my hormones, which is going to decrease my cravings, which is going to allow me to have better choices. Or I won't feel too tired to go to the gym, which is going to then help me sleep better the next night when I have that stress relief and also that physical activity in my day. And I can see the domino effect into other things that make me feel empowered. Isn't that what we all want to freaking feel more of?
Yeah.
Empowered.
Yeah.
But it's so much of like this feeling of I'm forced to. And then maybe if you're thinking about the gym and not you specifically,
Hmm.
you're thinking about the gym in the sense of burning calories, then yeah, you're not going to want to. When you're connected to your body and the domino effect of decisions.
It's really good. And it does, again, take the awareness to be like, okay, I need to put my phone down. I need to find another way to make myself tired than scrolling, because we know that game. We've all
It
been there.
does take awareness, but think about it as awareness versus perspective shift. So awareness happens first, but the perspective shift is what your subconscious is looking to gravitate towards. So your perspective shift will dictate your subconscious, and your subconscious leads you into habits.
Ooh, okay. I love this. And I know because I've been in this world and I've been around you, it makes sense to me. Can you break it down just a little bit further to someone who is maybe hearing this for the
Yes.
first time?
So your subconscious is your brain's way of thinking without effort because your brain does not want to expend the actual energy to think logical thoughts. And that's why a subconscious exists. It saves energy and it basically does the thinking for you. But your subconscious is created through the thoughts that you fed it. And so having the awareness is huge because you can then observe the thoughts and beliefs that you've been telling your subconscious to lead you in action. So that's the awareness piece. Then the perspective shift happens to do whatever, we're kind of having that perspective shift, whether that's today or something else. That's where you insert the thoughts and beliefs you want your subconscious to gravitate and hold on to, which lead you into action. So, therefore, again, your subconscious is your brain's way of thinking without taking energy to think the thoughts. It does it for you. So, why not create something that leads you into the actions that you actually want? And again, the awareness piece is knowing what your current subconscious is.
I want to interject for just a moment because I've made this point on previous episodes related to these other sins of, money and pride and rest. And it's like shame is so often the default thing that we fall into. Like, this is my fault. I need to fix this. And then it's even worse, right? Like, okay, I have awareness of the problem and now I'm shaming myself for having the problem. But so much of this is deep conditioning. If we're living out a pattern of something that we absorbed way before we had any realization that we were doing it.
Mhm. Absolutely. Oh, yes. That's why you could look at your patterns. So if your patterns are, I go to the gym January, February, and then March, the sunshine starts coming, want your patterns, if you want to continue going to the gym. So that pattern is literally a lineage of your thoughts and beliefs, whether it's around food or eating or overeating. If you find yourself going through that pattern of feeling shame and guilt, then that is literally your subconscious that led you into the action that's leading you into the next beliefs about that. And so the perspective shift would happen. I am allowed to enjoy my meal without guilt and shame, and I will have control of my eating habits. Because right now, in most cases, people are thinking, I don't have control. I have no control. Well, what do you think your actions are going to be? It's basically a way to justify the lack of control. And I'm not saying that people don't struggle with actual cravings and control with portions, but that most often is a self-regulation and a mindset thing.
This is absolutely fascinating. And I know you work with women, but have you seen any patterns or concerning trends showing up in mothers specifically by chance?
Always a mothers of young kids.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I see a lot of is that with the current administration, there is a lot of fear mongering. And if women don't have the background knowledge, they're very vulnerable to that. And therefore, they portray that onto their kids. And so what that looks like is don't eat that junk food. Or so let's say a mom says, don't eat that. We don't eat that junk food. Okay. Whether it has red dye 40 or whether it has aspartame or whatnot. Then child goes to grandma's house. Grandma feeds them that food. Now this association is grandma feeds me junk food. What does that say about how grandma thinks about me? It's all kind of a matter of this like good, bad food. Now kids have this, that's good food, that's bad food. And then they start to feel guilty if they enjoy candy with their friends. And that guilt leads them into a whole lifelong of struggles with their relationship with food. So I'm not shaming any parent for doing this. It is the direction things are leaning because we are receiving this messaging from above. Now, does there need to be fear mongering around those foods? No. Anybody who feeds their kids way too much candy probably knows better. That's not the problem we're having in health. So knowing that all or nothing, literally of any food, is not the problem. Meaning eating something sometimes is not the problem. So really trying to steer people away from all or nothing, especially with kids, matters most for their relationship with food, because that then plays into their health more than having maybe unhealthy foods sometimes.
Yeah. Can we talk more about the all or nothing of all of this?
Yes. Well, humans naturally attract to extremes because it helps us simplify something. No carbs, high protein, no sugar, high fat, whatever. That's kind of like the easy way to give me a list of rules so I can understand this and then implement it. And that is very instinctual and I get it. But it puts you absolutely in line for failure. Therefore, that cycle starts to happen where you feel like a failure, you change your habits, and then you feel guilty, and then you feel like you can't do it, you're not doing enough. And it's just like the streamline that pulls you away from actual progress in your health journey. So I am, again, I'm not shaming. I've just seen these cycles so often. And then women say, how did I get here? And we look at their history of extreme dieting or extreme implementation. And again, almost nobody can actually stick to it long term or sustain that. And so then those feelings of failure lead them to a whole new set of things that create vulnerability for them.
I just want to hug all of us women.
I know it's not, and I've learned a lot of these lessons myself. Like I also went through a horrible relationship with food through college and high school, and that's where a lot of my passion stems from because I remember the feeling of defeat and failure constantly feeling like that. Even when I was on quote unquote on something, I still wasn't doing it well enough or hard enough. And therefore I wasn't getting the results fast enough or like other people. And ultimately it was that cycling that continued to lead me further and further away to my actual health goals or vision for myself.
And you may have said this on the last conversation that we had, but I would love for you to say it again. The way that we talk about each other's bodies has to change. And even when we think we're doing it from a good
Mm,
place of, oh my God, girl, you look
yes.
amazing.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for bringing up this conversation. There is almost no space, in my opinion, for us to talk about each other's body. And that is very alarming to women because if we are working on our health and for the right reasons, we actually may be seeing results in our body. However, how our body looks should not be what's rewarded. And that is the weight stigma part because the woman who is putting in the work and the effort is associating that she's more worthy now that she looks better than she was before that weight loss. We know that not to be true on an actual logical level, but subconscious against subconscious is created through the messaging that's happening. So when associations to a woman's body and their body image getting positive feedback, getting attention, especially from the people they love, the subconscious can't help but to associate that as I am now more worthy. So the pressure that that woman feels to maintain that weight loss or not screw up or don't go back to what she was. What if she has a death in the family? What if something dramatic happens that pulls her away from those habits? What if something happens to her mental health that she no longer sustains those habits? The feedback stops, positive comments stop. That halt of that type of adrenaline that women have received about their body image is the damage.
Mm.
It's not the changing in her body and what she's going through. It's the damage of the quietness that happens from all the flooding of what happened. So there's, in my opinion, there's no space. I look at my friends as what they offer in our relationship, what they offer as a human. I compliment on maybe their efforts. And I'll say, gosh, I notice you've been doing a lot of habits that are supportive of your health. How is that making you feel? How is that showing up for you? So I'm not saying the conversation can't happen, but I have no space in commenting on their body. One, because it's not mine. Two, because it does not matter to me as a worth of a woman and what they bring into my life.
Right.
So yes, I do recommend, and I hope that any of that it stops. And even let's say venting about, oh, I can't stand the way I look and I can't stand how I feel. Okay, so now as an instinctual woman, we want to go on to then support our friend, right? What that's saying is, yes, I agree. You maybe could lose some weight. Here are my tips to support that because you will be happier if you lose weight. I know this is a really heavy conversation. It's real and it's all subconscious messaging. The real message that needs to happen is your body image doesn't change who you are. Your habits, which stem from, again, a deeper level of connection to yourself outside of societal messaging, that's the beauty and growth. If you see that messaging changing for a woman,
Just think about the ripple effect. If we start changing this in our circles and in our families, and then these people are noticing and going, oh, that's very interesting the way that she paid me a compliment. And it wasn't about a normal thing that I would expect to be complimented on. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that with my friends and my family. Like the ripple effect potential here is huge. But again, we have to notice where we're subconsciously doing this because we think we're coming from a kind place of like, oh, I want to show them love. Let me pay them a compliment. And I have two thoughts on that. One, not related to a woman. It was my father. He was a very big man. We always say he was built like a refrigerator. He was just a huge man, 6'3" and overweight. Loved large, lived large, loved life, loved food. Like he was here for the full enjoyment experience. And I think he had it. Except he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer in 2019. And once he started on his immunotherapy and his drug, all the things, he started dropping weight like crazy. And everyone commented on it. And it was like, oh my God, Ron, you look great. What are you doing? Oh, he's low key dying of cancer, but we're not going to say that out loud. You know what I mean? It's just like for me to notice and then hear and then have to, and he received the compliments. He was like, he was happy to be losing weight, but it was like, the man died 2 years later. Like, this is not the vibe, right? So we don't know why somebody's body is changing. They could be hitting the gym every day and eating cleanly and in the best health of their life, or they could be going through something really terrible.
Yeah. The moments of weight stigma in my life are still clear and they happened 20 years ago. So it is exactly that, like not to go into a personal thing, but I also went through a really severe mental health challenge after a breakup. And food was the farthest from my mind. In fact, I would get nauseous every time I would eat because I just the level of heartbreak can do damage to your body, right? And so I lost weight fast from not eating, from heartbreak. And again, the compliments. And in my young, youthful mind, I was like, oh, well, thanks. At least you think I look good, even though I'm basically dying inside. Like I still remember how that hurt so much that I wasn't trying to lose weight. It was just too much. So, and then the other side of that, when I was obsessing about weight loss, I was doing everything I could. A young guy told me I shouldn't be eating the pizza. And I remember that because it was like, yeah, I know it's so bad, but those are the things that you don't know what people are going through. And so, yes, the weight loss, whether it looks good or not, is not your business. It's not, and it shouldn't be. And honestly, if you yourself are on a weight loss journey, it should be for nobody else's business except yours.
Yeah.
So if you're doing it to look good for certain people, I don't know what to tell you.
I saw something the other day, back to the compliment bit, because I know a lot of people are coming from a good place of I want to show someone some love and pay them a compliment. And you may be hearing this and getting defensive because you're like, I'm just trying to be a nice person.
Yes.
I've been learning so much on Threads lately. I highly recommend lurking over there if you haven't. But I heard something the other day that made perfect sense. It just articulated it in a way that made the most sense. Compliment someone on something they chose. If you love their hot pink hair that they clearly chose, you can compliment them on that. If you love their earrings, if you love their scarf, if you love their shoes, keep it surface level in that way. You can still show them love and praise them for a choice that they consciously made that morning or that week.
I'm going to take that a next level, actually. Same, but I'm going to say compliment them on their effort of what they brought to the table. Like, you made us all laugh today. That was great. Or you are glowing with positivity and I love that energy. Or, hey, you were really impactful the way that you, offered your advice about health information. Those are the things that help women connect to their selves and who they are. I have a great head of hair, as do you, Shannon. And do you get a million compliments on it? Be honest.
I do.
Yes. And what does it do for you? Tell me what that does for you when you get a compliment on your beautiful head of hair.
It depends on the day. It depends how I'm wearing it. If it's curly, I feel like I have to be like, oh, thank you. And it's a beast to tame. Like I have to be like, like
you have to take it down a notch.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, because I did nothing to grow this head of hair. I was blessed with genetics and I was blessed with, a combination of like whatever had to happen. It means nothing to me. I didn't
Yeah.
make this head of hair happen. I didn't produce it. I curled it. Good for me. I care that you see me as a person that is
Yeah.
outside of my body image, that is outside of my head of hair. I hear those compliments and it's like, cool, you like my hair. Like it doesn't
Mm.
sit with me.
Yeah. You know, this is interesting. With the hair is big. I'm a big, big hair girl. I
I
love
know.
hair. I love my hair. I love your hair. I love everyone's hair. I love
Yes.
hair. And if I'm having a bad hair day, because I've received so much positive affirmation around my hair, if I have a day where my hair is not looking good, I feel like I just crawled out of the sewer. Like
Oh my
so much of
gosh.
my self-confidence and my appearance is,
You've associated that
yeah,
with your hair.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. My pants
Yeah.
don't fit, but I'm having a great hair day. So here we go.
God, I love it. Hey, you know what? You own that hair. You own it, girl.
Yeah. I 100% agree. If it's someone you know, don't talk about their bodies. Don't talk about a surface level compliment. But sometimes you see something about somebody and you're like, when you're out in public and someone's like, I love your shoes. And you're like, oh my God, thank you. You know?
Yes. No, it is true. And honestly, yeah, your choices are your personality. So I love clothes actually. I love how they make me feel and I love picking them out. So when someone compliments my clothes, I do like, oh, thanks. I picked this out because I liked it too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it feels heavy, and it also feels like there are spaces where we can just make the most minor adjustments to make the world for women feel a little safer, right? Like, forget what the men are doing. I'm not worried about them, but like women on women, because there's a lot of women on women aggression, right? But how can we be more kind to each other in this way? And that's exciting. I have a lot of hope. It's times are weird, man. There's a lot going on, but I have a lot of hope because there are many women starting to notice and gain this awareness and choose differently and move through the world differently.
Mm.
That if enough of us move through this awakening phase, that maybe we'll stand a chance as a collective.
Yeah, I will say in my, current phase of life, the biggest shift that has led me to consistency in health choices or whatever, it's that I love the feeling of joy and then disconnecting that with relying on that feeling from food. Because
Yes.
in general, we do not allow ourselves joy because one, we don't feel worthy of a lot of it, maybe just here and there.
Mm,
And two, because we're serious, man, we got a family to raise and we got to show up. We got to be, you know, badass productivity, clean the house. Like we got things to do, right? A world to run essentially. And so with that energy, it is hard to allow space for joy. So I, in this phase of life, have picked up so many different ways to focus on feeling joy that, yes, when I feel joy through food, it does help me with portion control because I know I'm going to get more joy. I don't have to rely on just that instance to feel that satisfaction from food. I'm giving it to myself all over the place. And that's then where a lot of my actions and habits are pulled away from. And now, instead of relying on a snack to bring me joy, I have new hobbies that I never had before because I never gave myself the chance to feel that level of joy and as much of it as I want in kind of all day.
yeah, I forgot who said it, or maybe it's just a saying, but joy is our birthright and we don't have to earn it. Just like we talked about rest on the podcast a few weeks ago, we don't have to fucking earn it. Like, you are worthy
Yes.
of joy. You are worthy of rest. Like,
Yes.
we have such a joy deficit, which is probably half
Yes.
of our problems.
Yeah. Well, it's it is associated with the reward hormone in our brains. So when we're eating good food, of course, that reward feeling. But imagine giving it to yourself all day, all of the time in different ways. And again, I know that we all are so busy. We have kids or pets or jobs or houses or whatnot, but I have made it a point to instill it in my daily living, whether I am cleaning or whether I am, who I'm talking to is a big piece of
Yeah.
how I feel and joy I have. I mean, I've instilled it in a lot of different ways, whether it's corny or not. I mean, I think some people would think it is, and I don't care because I'm giving myself that feel good feeling all day. And so, yes, food is good too. I find pleasure in enjoying it, but I don't rely on it for that. And that's how portion control shows up for me a lot.
Hannah, I could talk to you all day because whether it's about food or health or whatever, like the themes that we always circle together,
It's
it's just
always
like,
going around full circle. Yeah,
yeah.
there's never an ending point to our conversation.
No, no. And I will say I'm in an era where I absolutely will not be taking advice from men or women without children. No dig to other childless women. But if it's something as serious and as complex as food choices, my health, everything else, I need someone who sees it through the lens of a busy fucking mom. So that being said, Hannah gets it. Hannah gets it. If any of this is resonating with you, she is your woman. So please tell everyone how they can work with you, find you, follow you, all the good things.
Oh my God, you're the best. Thank you. So as a dietitian, I run a business called the Wholesome Endeavors and a membership called the Wholesome Collective. It's an engaged group of women who are paving the path in their health journey without following that strict list of rules, but they care about their time. They're sick of wasting all their time figuring it out or trying to do this, trial and error. We're really just saving time by learning how to associate a healthy relationship with food, leading your health journey out of, joy and satisfaction and disease prevention, which is your joy when it comes to your quality of life, and without shame and shoulds. So we're letting go of our weight connected to our worth, and we're focusing on our happiness and our health. So the Wholesome Collective is a beautiful space for women to grow in their health journey without feeling behind.
And it's so robust. You've shown me everything that it entails. I've seen the back end of things. Like there's a lot of value. You are not only a wealth of knowledge, but you are a chronic over deliverer. You're like, and this, and you get this, and you get this, and cook with me Monday, or I don't know what day it's on now, but you do the cooking classes, like you do everything.
Yeah, well, I noticed that implementation is where women get stuck. It's like they can hear and learn all day, but then the barriers that block them from implementation are real. So we do weekly cooking classes virtually as a way to start implementing those foods and recipes into their families. We do monthly master classes live, not live in person, but virtually, so they can hear from other women and they can ask the questions to someone who's unbiased, meaning I don't sell supplements, I don't sell programs to sway my education. And I have no affiliations, so I don't get commissions or connections from anybody. I really just care about helping women start the health journey that's hopefully going to save their lives.
I'm so glad you said that too, because I think a lot of people are like, okay, what is she going to try to sell me? Who
Yeah.
is she partnered with? Like nothing. She's trying to sell you the key to your health. Like, hello, here it is.
I remain unbiased. I have absolutely no affiliations or connections for financial gain.
And you have the education that so many of these internet health coaches do not. You've gone to school, you've worked in clinical setting, you currently work in a clinical setting.
Yeah, I've done an internship. I've worked with a lot of patients in the hospital. I've worked with a lot of women. I've been an entrepreneur for almost 10 years now, which is crazy to say.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of different things. And what it comes down to it is I have experience on my side at this point and passion. So I can find the unbiased research because I care about that myself. I do not want to be swayed for certain theories or perspectives. I care about the research that's going to get us ahead.
We'll, of course, have all of your links in the show notes. Hannah, are there any final thoughts you'd like to leave our listeners with today?
Focus on process over perfection. Really follow the joy and don't waste your time with someone that makes you ever feel less than. That's it. Because we do have people pleasing tendencies, and that is what pulls us away from focusing on to ourselves. It'll change your habits and your life. I'm here for it, but we have to step out of that space of overwhelm and get into awareness like we talked about. But you're the best. I appreciate you in my circle always. And thank you for having me.
You're the best. Thank you so much for being here and blessing us once again with all of your wisdom. And please go find and follow Hannah. She is truly the best. And she has poured into me in this friendship in a way that has just been so life-giving. And I know you do that in your group too, because that's just who you are. So thank you so much, Hannah.
Thank you. All right, everybody, go out and enjoy the journey.
Thanks for listening to Speak Mother. If this resonated, share it with a friend, and don't forget to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Keep speaking your truth. I'll meet you back here soon.